It's the Political Free Agents, and we're back for our Wednesday episode. What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man? Wednesday, the week is just flying by. It's absolutely insane to think we're almost from Friday. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. This is probably the worst week of billables I've had on client work this week.
Why is that?
It's just been one of those weeks, man. Like I thought on Monday I could fix some bikes pretty easily, and it took me like 3 hours. And I ended up messing up a chain. And, so just stuff like that. And I don't know, just been real disjointed, a bunch of calls, unrelated work stuff. So anyway,
yeah,
one of those weeks, man.
It's been nonstop, man, for me. I mean, Jules has been busy. It's been my concept of time is just slowly destroying itself.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. We got Mike again for the third straight show on camera. What's cracking, Mike?
Man, I don't know what happened, but got my computer to work for some reason. So nothing much, man. Just enjoying the middle of the week.
Yeah, you must have got some of the PPP funds that they've been passing out.
That's all my money anyway. They're just giving it back to me.
Yeah, exactly. gave you that funky whatever $1,000 it was.
Mm-hmm.
Finding out that all these guys that make millions got millions.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that I didn't open up some Robinhood account and throw it in.
What a wealth transfer it was.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people miss, man, is that how all that money funnels back. We had a conversation probably a few episodes back about that. And I know Jason Stapleton on Wealth, Power, and Influence has talked about it a few times, how that money basically just goes right back to the rich. It's either handed directly to them from the government or goes right back. And so I think the biggest, I don't know it should be a scandal, but I don't think it really is turning into a scandal, is everything that's going on with BlackRock. I think that's crazy that it's not picking up a lot of traction. Mike, hit us with the broad strokes of what's happening with that BlackRock. Just complete sidebar to what we were talking about, but it fits.
Yeah. So, the Fed, per the Fed's charter, they're not allowed to buy equities direct. So they basically found a way around that and are having BlackRock do it on their behalf. So BlackRock's out there buying their own ETFs. They're buying all sorts of stuff with Fed money that the Fed traditionally hasn't been able to do. So they're out there support. I think if I remember correctly, BlackRock's like the largest they're the largest manager of like federal pension funds. So like something like 300 some odd $1 billion of federal pensions is managed by BlackRock. So BlackRock's out there spending billions and billions and billions of dollars. Probably who even knows if it might even be in the trillions now of new money on the Fed's behalf to keep this market propped up. And yeah, you're right. Nobody's really, well, I wouldn't say nobody, but you're not hearing about it in mainstream financial news.
Yeah, it's a small percentage compared to what exactly is going on there.
Yeah, I mean, they're buying junk bonds, they're buying corporate debt, they're buying ETFs, they're buying stocks. I think they were buying Walmart stock and a bunch of like a few other like big name stocks that, when it's all said and done, like we just don't have an actual market anymore. You've got essentially the Fed propping all these big companies up with funny money created out of nowhere, and BlackRock's doing it for them. So, and then Jay Powell, I think I sent you guys an article a while ago. Jay Powell's got like, I don't know how many millions of dollars invested in BlackRock. So you've got the chairman of the Fed, and I don't know if he's divested all that stuff, and how he's moved his money out or what he's done with that money in order to make it look like there's no conflict of interest. But you got basically the chairman of the Federal Reserve who's invested, a lot of his money into BlackRock. And now you've got BlackRock making all these moves for the Fed. It's so slimy.
Absolutely.
It's so slimy. And that's why people say the system's rigged, because it is.
And that's the crazy part about it. And there's more ties to BlackRock throughout, the administration as well, or just government in general. I don't want to say administration because it's not a Trump specific targeted thing. It's just people in government with ties to BlackRock. And so they're getting to get the commission on the front end and the back end, and then the profits. Like, it's ridiculous. And it's how much was it? Was it 75 billion? You're on mute, Chris.
Yeah, I know. It was 75 billion is what they bailed out, or whatever you want to call it. But it's
crazy.
I don't know. There's been this almost phantom deleveraging, or whatever you want to call it. That's just, it's just transfers of wealth and debt, taking this money off of individuals, and they're reaping the benefit on almost every single side of this pandemic. There's been almost no downside for them. Read that article that Mike just sent right there. I'd like to see some snippets from that.
All right. Yeah, we can pull that up real quick.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, man, that I don't know, Mike. You think this is gonna? Did they make? I didn't see it, but did they make a commitment to continually make purchases, or is this a one-time thing?
No, I don't think this is a one-time thing. No, this is gonna be something that plays out into 2021. They've unleashed the floodgates at this point. So,
basically everything. Basically everything's on the table for them, is what you're saying?
Everything's on the table. Everything they will do. And it's like, it's so mainstream now that everybody knows that the Fed will do anything and everything to keep this system propped up. It doesn't matter what they spend money on at this point. If they have to create $10 trillion to do it, $20 trillion to do it, they'll create it. It's just numbers. It's just numbers on a computer at this point. Now all they really have to figure out is how to skirt whatever law currently exists, or whatever rule currently exists, for them to put money where they need the money put. Right? That's all they're doing. And the BlackRock BlackRock's a perfect example of that.
So they're just going to reshuffle as needed, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think the big thing to recognize is that if you look at the title, it's probably a little understandable that if they're buying something in terms of investment, it could go down. And if it does go down, then that's us taking that loss. So as taxpayers. And so this is an article from June 4th, 2020. And just jumping down to the meat here, see, BlackRock has been around for a while. It talks about here the last financial crisis, they were given no bid contracts. So basically just like they were the chosen ones. And it's completely happening again. And so they say here that Maiden Lane purchased $30 billion of toxic stocks or assets from Bear Stearns as an inducement by the New York Fed to get JP Morgan to purchase the good parts of Bear Stearns. So this isn't new. We've done this before. This is a pattern. This is their playbook. And so I think to answer your question, Chris, about them kind of going back from this, I mean, this is like they found the way around it. They found a loophole. They're not giving that up. No way, shape, or form are they going to give that up.
There you go, John. Fed Chair Powell has upwards of $11.6 million invested with BlackRock, the firm that will manage $750 billion in corporate bond bailouts, and that was back in May.
Yeah, I mean, I did forget about that. That he does personally have money invested in them, but it's been an ongoing thing, man. I mean, you look at Kelly Loeffler, you look at I can't remember what the other guy's name, but the ones that had the massive amounts of money. Yeah, the senators that had money shuffled. I mean, it's these individuals that get into politics and they're semi-wealthy and then they become obscenely rich, through what would normally be classified as insider trading or
100%.
These
standard operating procedure at this point. I mean,
it is.
I think there was a tweet that came out from JP Morgan like today or in the last couple of days, and they were basically saying like, if Biden wins, we see this as neutral or slightly positive. It's like, they make these banks and these corporations, they make so much money off of fraud at this point. It's their business model because it's how things work, that even if Joe Biden got elected, they're still going to make their money.
They're hedging everything one way or the other. So
they're hedging. Exactly. They're still going to make their money because their whole business model is built on frauding, like political connections and like the way the system works. Like, so there's not going to, like, Joe Biden gets elected, it's not going to be any different. Like everybody seems to think, a lot of people seem to think that if Biden gets elected, like the markets are gonna dump, and they may dump, but like these big banks and these big corporations, they're not going to take as big a hit.
But even if they do dump though, Mike, I mean, it's essentially going to be the exact same thing like what happened at the beginning of the pandemic, where the market literally erased every single gain from the day Trump took the presidency. And what ended up happening, all of those individuals were able to buy stocks on dips and they made a bunch of money on the uptick. Same thing with crude prices and WTI. I mean, it when those things fell and they were betting futures, I mean, they were able to make a bunch of money there. So it's like Julie said, I mean, it's why it's so hard to get involved in a lot of these, commodities and things like that and either hedge them or trade, because the system's rigged itself to the point to where they're trading millions and millions and millions, and in some cases billions of dollars, and they're reaping huge amounts of rewards. I don't know if anyone's gone through and is keeping track of any consumer watchdog websites, but I'd be curious to see if individuals have been tracking Trump's speeches or even the markets. I shouldn't say habits, but what's been happening on some of these buys and dips and sells and things like that. I would guarantee you that individuals have been sitting there just opportunistic, and waiting on the times when they can do that. I mean, it's functioning as its own slush fund, so to speak, because the game's so rigged. There's no downside for them.
Well, now they've shifted the downside too, because now, like, we haven't even seen the corporate real estate market dump yet.
Right.
And we've got all these CLOs, because all they did was repackage all that shit and rebrand it. All the CDOs that blew up in 2008, all they did was repackage it and call it something new. So now we got CLOs in the CLO market that's ready to explode, and the corporate real estate market that's underpinning it. And now what they've done is they've essentially transferred all of that risk onto the taxpayers before it happened, because before in 2008, all that risk was on the banks, right? Yeah. So they learned their lesson. They learned their lesson, and so now you're going to see all that risk is sitting with pension funds, and now it's off the banks. It's off the banks risk table. So it's gonna be a shit show whenever that stuff blows up this time.
Oh, you're exactly correct, man. It absolutely is. I was talking to Doug about that the other day, because he and I were having a conversation about the corporate real estate market, and I asked him point blank. I said, "Man, what do you think in regards to this corporate real estate. He's like, man, he's like, it's really kind of hard to tell right now. He said, obviously, you know, individuals aren't going back to office spaces. So he said, what do you end up doing with a lot of that stuff? So they're slashing the price per square foot right now to even try to get individuals to, you know, make it attractive to lease. So the entire market is going to go through a shift, even just from a rent standpoint, to try to get individuals there. So that's usually the first thing that you'll see is they're going to have to try to come down. The second thing I'm guessing is, you know, if they continue to have issues paying loans and things like that, I would imagine that they would start, you know, talking debt reshuffles and loan reorganizations and things like that. And then after that comes bankruptcies.
And so you're going to have all those lower tranches in those CLO products start to fall apart. And it's just like, it's like a domino. It's like that Jenga effect, right? All the lower ones fall apart, then all the upper ones start falling apart. And it's going to be the same thing like in 2008. I'm just really curious to see if they can keep it from happening before the election or after the election. Like that was it. You know what I mean? Like I always thought that when Trump got elected, that there was no way that he was going to make it out of his first term.
I agree.
Without a financial,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And,
yeah,
and,
I thought it was going to happen a little earlier.
Well, I think we all kind of did. That's why I kind of made the mention the other day in the thread that we were talking about that all the signs were there because the economy was built under the sham of tax cuts. And in addition to that, it was built off of the fact that we had this quote unquote rising, job number that, individuals were being employed at high rates. And what ended up happening was, you look back on it and most of those individuals were working seasonal type jobs. They were working temporary type jobs. They were padding, the job numbers. I mean, even now, they're not touting the jobs that are quote unquote coming back, that individuals are gaining back as retails and things like that are starting to open up. The rhetoric that they're using is our job numbers are starting to look really good again. They're two totally separate things. You can't, yep. It's not a 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Those jobs were lost. A lot of them won't come back, so all the writing was on the wall, and Mike had talked about it from day one. John, I was a little bit more, I think, skeptical about when it would happen, but I think the next thing we'll see is, and you can see the way Republicans are kind of timing this thing. If you notice, they started talking about additional stimulus funds or bailout funds or whatever you wanted to call it, and something else that might be passed in August. So it's either going to be a twofold problem, right? People are going to, at the end of July, be 60 days late on rent, 35 days late, 30 days late on rent, whatever that may be. They're going to start going through either evictions or foreclosed problems, things like that. So there's still more to come, man. And they are playing it to where they're going to let those individuals, like I was looking at some of the rhetoric that was in those bills the other day, and I think there's a bunch of pork that's tied to a lot of them in terms on who they want to give additional money to. So they're banking on, the fact that they're going to put a bunch of pork in there. Individuals are going to get desperate. They're going to fly the flag under the message that Democrats are holding up more stimulus money. And it's going to be the same thing all over again. Wealth transfer, and individuals are going to get maybe another 30 to 60 day reprieve. Hey, Mike, but one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was, I don't know if you saw Helia's email back to us today, but when she responded and she was talking to Vanessa, one of the things that she actually said was in regards to developing a, some type of a cure, a vaccine. It looks like this thing is still another 6 to 8 months out right now. So this is going to stretch all the way into 2021.
Yeah, Fauci said that early on, that when they started asking him how early does he think we'll have a vaccine, he said it wouldn't happen before the end of the year, most likely.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike, in terms of, what you've been talking about right now? And I think if I'm not mistaken, one of the things that you had said initially too, and I think I maybe undercut it, was the possibility of needing 3 to 4 more of these bailouts or stimulus funds just to help people out, because this thing is going to stretch on for so long.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think you're going to see minimum of 2 more. I mean, at the point, we have to see what happens when it comes to the school year. Like the school kids being able to go back to school or not is going to play a huge piece in how this whole thing like plays out. Because if they decide that kids can't go back to school, parents got to work from home. Yeah, I mean, some of us can work from home, but you know, a large portion of the economy just can't make that happen. It's just not realistic. So there's a lot of money they're essentially what you're talking about is that, you know, that whole concept of modern monetary theory, MMT, which was essentially them paying people, you know, a livable, you know, income. They're just going to throw money. They're just going to print money and throw it out into the economy, and it's going to get to the point to where, you know, people aren't going to want to go back to work. I mean, we're already there, really. So all that's going to matter is all they have to figure out is for how long they want to do these stretches for. Is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be, you know, 4 months? So I think, you know, right now they're going to have to decide on another one. We'll see how long that one lasts. My guess will be, you know, if I had to guess, I would say it would last through the rest of the year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do 2 more by the end of the year.
Well, and that's, you know, I think you always raise a good point about the power that they want to continue to hold over people, and the ability to have that ace in their pocket to drive a wedge issue wise. But, you know, why? I mean, you know, instead of $1,200, give everybody 5,000, give everybody 10,000. If that's what you're going to end up doing in the long run, why not?
Huh?
I said, if, you know, why not come out and give everyone, you know, $5,000 or $10,000 instead of nickel and diming this thing continuously over and over and over again? But it allows them to continue to stay in control and, you know, potentially have a wedge issue, you know, if you know, the Democrats play partisan politics with getting money to individuals.
I mean, if you gave everybody in America $10,000, that's $3 trillion. You know what I mean? But that's
I guess so, right?
That's where they're at. The problem is they're trying to keep a lid on this facade, this whole facade, right, that they somehow, some way, somewhere down the road, they're gonna be able to fix this thing and figure it out and like come up with a solution. So let's give a little money here, wait 6 months, and then, you know, shit's not going to get solved. And then we'll have to go back to the drawing table and give a little money here, and, you know, a little more money. They can't just come out and give everybody money, the kind of money that you're talking about, because once you start giving out like $3 trillion at a time, people are just like, Jesus, like that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So they're trying the best that they can to try and keep this thing, like trying to keep from the curtain being pulled all the way back and seeing the man behind the curtain, right? But it's just not going to work. Like as time goes on, people are just realizing more and more that if the only thing that you can do is print a bunch of money, and you can't ever fix anything, then, you know, and in the meantime, all you're going to see is more and more social unrest. Right? Because as things continue not to get fixed, people's lives don't get any better. They actually get worse, right? Because now if you can't go to work and you can't, like, you know, your life can't go back to normal, even if your life, even if normal life wasn't even all that great, right? At least you had some sort of stability. Like now people don't even have stability in their not so great life. So you're just going to see more and more social unrest. So it's just, you know, like I said, I think minimum one. Obviously, we know another one's coming. But I think you're probably going to see, you might see two before the end of the year. But I would, even if you don't, beginning of next year, you're for sure going to see another one. They're going to keep doing these things just until they get to the point to where they straight up just go full on modern MMT, where they're like, from here on out, every month, everybody gets X amount of dollars. Like, it's just, they're just signing it away. Like, you're just going to get $1,000 in your bank account every month.
I mean, why not? That's the thing. It makes the most sense to me to do it that way.
It doesn't work, bro, because here's the thing. Once you start pumping that kind of money into the system, the cost of everything goes up. And they're trying to manage inflation. They're trying to manage inflation of all the things that me and you and regular people need and use on a regular basis. They've got no problems with asset inflation, right? Stock market goes up, great. Home prices go up, great. You know, like all the things that people, like wealthy people spend and buy, you know, if those prices go up, great. But they're trying to manage the inflation level when it comes to all the other things that regular people have to spend their money on: rent, healthcare, food, you know, energy, all those things. So the more money you start pumping in the system on a regular basis, it is going to be more money chasing all those things that regular people spend money on, and the price is going to go up way quicker than they can handle. And so, you know, if you got inflation running away at, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20%, that's when people start like thinking in the back of their mind, like, what the hell is going on? Everything's like jumping up in price. Right. And that's why that's the real reason why they don't want to just go straight up, you know, MMT and just give everybody, you know, a couple $1,000 every month. Because then, then the game's really over.
The game is over now. They might as well just go ahead and just skip the middle chapters and let's just get to the prelude, the end of this book.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, all they're doing is destroying things at a slower rate.
Absolutely,
in the process, man. Right? And it's going to be a lot worse at the end if you do it that way.
It's full torture, man, watching it like this and seeing some of these things that, I mean, not only industries, but livelihoods that might just never, ever come back. And you look at, you know, the one thing that's not talked about in those unemployment numbers is, I know I've seen it firsthand in the energy and oil and gas industry. The individuals that are at the top of that food chain in terms of experience, 401k contributions, you know, probably healthcare usage, ongoing training, and you know, things like that, are the individuals that are 55 and over. I mean, so many of those individuals got forced to retire that were probably planning on working another 5 to 10 years, you know. So now they're having to tap into retirements and things like that early. The chances of them going back and getting a full 9-to-5 job in this is probably slim to none. There'll be consultants, there'll be a lot of consultants, but you know, those jobs aren't coming back from them either. There's a lot of highly qualified individuals that are out of work right now, you know, in addition to, you know, the however you want to classify it in terms of, you know, job positions. But a lot of that stuff's not coming back, man. And seeing it seeing it happen in real time and in slow motion is horrible.
So American Airlines recently announced that they felt like they were about, I believe it was 2,000. I don't think it was 20. I think it was 2,000 employees too heavy, basically. And so they're looking to shave some of their employees. And so to that point, Chris, about the jobs not coming back, is that, you know, it's definitely one of those things where you start, or if you're not paying attention to what they're saying, you see them talking about the jobs, the numbers looking great and that sort of thing. But what you may be missing is the fact that they're not going back to the job they once had because of different reasons. Like airlines, they're losing flights. They're not having as many people fly, that sort of thing. So you can't just magically like wisp that back. That's not gonna work. And so I think it's one of those things that if you, from the, political free agent perspective, if you look back to, what was it, in 2013 or 14 when, or maybe it might have been a little before that, when Obama, they quote unquote changed the formula on how you track unemployment. And so, you heard Republicans bashing him that it's not the real unemployment rate. Trump was very loud about it before he was even running. It's like, it's not the real unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is really about 9,000 because it's not tracking anymore those people who have exited the workforce, basically. Like those numbers are excluded. And so now you're not seeing that, like that math now works for the Republicans. And so from the PFA point is you have to pay attention to that sort of rhetoric. Like, when does it change and when is it okay for that same thing to work for your party that didn't work for the other one? And so to that point, this article that I was showing a bit ago was about McConnell talking about the $40,000 stimulus check, or the stimulus check for people who make less than 40,000. And so essentially, what you were saying, Chris, about why not just dumping $1,000 in, that's roughly about, I was doing the math real quick, and if they're taking about 25% of your income, that's about 30,000 a year that you'll bring in cash outside of the taxes, and then about $500, $600 a week that you would make for the year. And so if you're salaried, of course. But the point that Mitch McConnell made of the people under 40,000 being hit the hardest, I didn't actually take that lightly, because it's not one of those things that you often hear from the right about the poor. Usually it's the bleeding hearts, the liberal side, that are looking at the poor and saying, oh, we have to help them. And the right's usually like, hey, you guys figured out, bootstrap sort of thing. But to hear him
it's an election year, so now they care about the poor.
right. And that's
why you don't hear about it.
I tell people all the time, bro, election years, you hear about veterans. They come up every election year. You hear about abortion, all these hot button topics, they come out. And then after election, I don't care who gets elected, you don't really hear much about it.
The usual political pawns. The veteran is one of the most commodified individuals in this country, man, because they use they use veterans as, and Mike, I mean, you know exactly what I mean, but they're such a convenience to them. It's just pathetic to see some of the actions and rhetoric that our elected officials use towards veterans, man. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go
ahead, Mike.
Well, I was going to say, Chris, kind of to piggyback off of what we were talking about earlier, I still reserve a decent amount of hope and that there's enough problem solvers out there in this country that will eventually, will eventually connect with each other, because, Dave Rubin just came out with an interview. He interviewed this black lady who is she was basically trying to start a small business with a guy in his shop, and it got torn apart by all these protests and stuff, and she was basically saying, she was basically criticizing the Black Lives Matter movement because now she can't start her business. She's in her late 60s, trying to start her her dream, and now her dreams are crushed right now. And, all it took was a couple people to see that over social media, and it blew up and went viral. And now you've got all these people putting money in to help her out, to get her business, and her dreams started off the ground. And so there's enough people out there, and there's enough desire to fix problems, that it's simply a matter of connecting people to each other to do it. And I still hold out a lot of.
I do too, man. I do too. And one of the things that I'm usually a pretty stoic person. As I've gotten older, I've started to get in touch with my feelings a lot more. But man, I'll tell you, this past episode on Sunday, when Paul and Helia got to talking and they ended up knowing so many of the same people, Helia's willingness to reach out to Vanessa despite all she has going on and helping out with her. I mean, that is, not only is the goal of the podcast to be able to, continually talk about things that are going on in this country and try to present problems, solutions to problems, but it's connecting all these people, man. And I got to thinking about that this weekend, and I was like, that's a decision that could potentially, connecting with the right people, man, raise money and save lives. And that's truly making a difference. I know I told y'all, but my brother-in-law right now is his entire family is sick with COVID-19. He is a diabetic. He's bedridden right now. He can't get out of bed. Julie had to take them some food earlier that I cooked. He's been given the remdesivir that we talked about the other day. So his blood pressures are spiking. His blood sugars are going way up and down. And it's absolutely killing him. But the one thing I'll say is, because of our show the other day in regards to convalescent plasma, Paul's story, Helia's willingness, some of the stuff that we shared from Vanessa, man, I'll tell you, I have gotten 8 people so far that have already committed to go donate plasma because they have it and they're going to recover from it, and once they get their negative test, they're going to do the blood work and go through it. And that's what is that? That's 32 bags right there. That's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, hopefully, like Paul said, hopefully they can figure out a financial incentive to do it too, so people are getting paid to do it.
The other thing, one of the cool things in addition to that, it's one of the things that I saw this week. I don't know if you guys got to pick up on it, but there was a guy named Rehan Staten, who was a trash man. He's a young guy. Him and his brother were, and this kind of goes along the line of what we're talking about, Mike, but him and his brother worked to, just try to have some type of job to put food on the table. And during that time, he was going to school. He maintained a super high GPA. His story got out as to what he was pursuing. People networked it, and he got into Harvard Law School this fall from collecting trash, doing his studies whenever he could, and then going back to finish his job, his shift. And then, one of the things that I saw on Twitter was when his story broke, and there's individuals that came left and right out of the woodworks, and they were talking to him on his Twitter feed, and they were basically saying, man, I am willing to, connect you with my network of alumni, with problem solvers, with businessmen, with mentors and things like that. And that should be the goal, man. We should all, when we start looking, talking about the bigger picture, we should all look to that, because, that is ultimately how, when this thing either crashes or resets itself, it's going to be our opportunity to really move the needle and move things forward. I believe.
Yeah, I mean, people in this country love to see other people who strive to be better. Like when you see somebody who's striving to be better, that's striving to better themselves, that's putting in that hard work, you want to help them, right? And
yes.
and that's like in the American DNA, right?
Yes.
And so if you see somebody that's doing that, help them out. Like any way that you can, right? Make a connection. Even if it doesn't work out, make a connection.
100%.
If you think it's gonna help them out, make a connection. Right?
John and I were talking about that the other day, man. We were talking about that the other day, that exact same thing, Mike. And I told a young guy who's still young enough to make a change in his life. He does photography. He does really, really good. He did the photography for Jared Kelly, who got drafted by the Chicago White Sox. And he's unsure of how to stage his business. So I told him, I said, listen, I said, you know what? I said, I'll do this for you. I'm willing to help you get a website up. If there's a cost to it, I'll incur some of that cost. I'll help you set up your package deals. I'll help you set up those type of things. But I don't want anything back from you in terms of money. I don't care if you go out and make, $100,000. I don't want money back from you, but I want you to commit to the process of succeeding. And, when you take the ego out of that stuff, man, and you're willing to help a lot of these younger folks, there's a lot of talent out here, man, and all they need is a springboard to a lot of this stuff. And it's one of the things that everyone should do and realize that, this goal that we're all working for is much bigger than just I succeeding.
Yeah, I think, Mike, to your point about things being changed from just, I put the link on YouTube if anybody wants to see. It's in the YouTube comments. The lady that went off and now she's, getting blessed by people across the country. I think to that extent, I think we're all kind of geared that way. I agree with you 100%. Like, my nephew hit me up and was like, hey, I need a little help. I didn't ask any questions because he's working hard and I know he's got 2 jobs and he just kind of fell behind with some things. Shot him the money, like no issue. But if I get hit by a different nephew that's not necessarily doing anything right now and he's like, hey, I need a little money, it's like, let's talk, But, to the point of the lady, I'll share this page real quick. I say this all the time, and I'm a stickler for this point. And, I bring it up all the time, kind of like how I used to bring up the economy all the time. I bring this up because I think it's important for people to understand. This was the 2016 election. This is how much money flew around for the 2016 election. $1.5 billion by candidates and super PACs, 643 million. So we're looking at $2 billion and just to get people elected. That's it. Just to get people elected, $2 billion. That came from companies and individuals. This is the current election. This is what we're looking at right now. Trump is total 287,000, million, and Biden 211,000. So, and Joe Jorgensen, got a nice little hefty 31,000. So we're looking at, $500 million that's just going to help get somebody elected. That's it. Just going to get somebody elected. And it's such a big issue for me because I think to that point, Mike, of all these issues that we have, like the problems that's going on, and I don't care, pick a topic, inner city, veteran healthcare, like pick a topic. The money is there. I don't care what happens when something goes wrong in America and somebody, the heartstrings get pulled, the money can be found. Get it in front of the right people. The money is there. The money exists. We just have to be able to get beyond the point of expecting the government to fix this stuff for us. Like, hey, there's a problem going on. We need the government policy in place. So I need to elect person X to get that policy enforced. And there's all these nuances that it may or may not happen. Or if it happens, it's not going to be what, you expect it to be. So I think the money is there for us to fix, pretty much the majority of the issues that's in America without government intervention.
And I told Jason one time, I told him, give me $1 million and I could get somebody elected president. $1 million. That's all I would need.
I don't see how you need anything more than that. Like they're just raising money.
If you know how to connect the right dots with each other, and I'm talking about networking, people network, like legit people, and you know how to frame the conversation in such a way where they're focusing on like the right problem to solve, if you can get them all to buy in to a specific type of, strategy when it comes to solving these problems, you wouldn't have to spend a whole lot of money. Honestly, the networks of people, of problem solvers, of people that care about this country, people with money, people with real influence, those networks exist. If you could just connect them all in the right way, you wouldn't need a whole lot of money to get somebody elected president. You really wouldn't.
Yep, absolutely. There was a lady that ran in Texas. I can't remember her name. I might be able to find it real quick.
Kathleen Wall.
Kathleen Wall, the one that she spent $1 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the one that's currently running, that's spent the most in Texas history at 7.2 million of her own money.
Oh, shoot. So essentially she, the one that I was thinking about was last election, and she ended up losing, but she ran in Texas. She ended up spending $1 million of her own and ended up losing. And so it's not about how much you spend, it's about the quality of your campaign. And so I 100% agree with you, Mike, that it's. Did you guys watch the movie yet with Steve Carell? See?
No, I haven't. But to that effect, I haven't had time to do it yet.
I mean,
I will.
We'll give you a pass.
Yeah, I will
make the money.
Well, plus my anniversary was yesterday too, so nothing got done.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Happy anniversary, by the way. No, I said it on Facebook, but he's out there looking suave.
13 years, man. It's funny.
Julie should have had that picture ready. That should have been our cover.
Julie said that picture always makes her laugh because it basically amounts to a deal is the deal. It's both of us looking at that contract like, man, I don't know about this.
There's no turning back.
Been together 20 years, man. 13 married, and it's been amazing, man. The one thing that I'll say that I can hang my hat on as the biggest accomplishment is being able to support my wife and watch her succeed in her line of work and what she does. She does extremely well on a global level, and having 2 functional, healthy kids, man.
Yeah, man, without a shadow of a doubt. But just to make the point, the movie is irresistible for those who didn't catch the last episodes. And if you didn't catch the last episodes, you need to go back, catch those episodes.
Yes.
It's always good content there.
Where is that on again?
Netflix? It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Actually, no, not on Netflix. You have to watch it through like Google Play Movies, or maybe Apple may have it. But it was supposed to be in theaters, but of course, Rona. But it's basically to that point of where they kind of break it down in the theatrical sense of how that money in super PACs does not have to be accounted for. Like once everybody tends to wonder, like, man, all that money that was raised, where did it go? And a lot of times, was that?
Don't the candidates get to keep it?
Yep.
No.
Oh, no,
not the candidate, but the party.
Yeah,
the party keeps it, and then they channel that down into local races and things like that. But
right, the party and the PAC. The PAC is not accounted, like they don't have to account for it in the PAC. Now, if it goes to the candidate, which this is just all the campaign finance laws where you can give, I think it's 2,500 is the max now individually, but you can, dump money in a PAC, but you can't give to the candidate, but you can give to the super PACs and whatnot. And the super PACs, was that?
PAC can then give it to the candidate, right?
The PAC can use it for the candidate's benefit.
Okay.
But they can't give it to the candidate.
Basically, like the NRA funneled all that Russian money to Donald Trump.
Oh man, that dude that came out of left field. All right, hey,
Man,
real quick. We were talking in the pre-show about the Texas GOP meeting that's coming up. It's supposed to be happening here in Houston, in the great state of Texas. So coming up on an hour, I want to make sure we got this out.
Look at that diverse crowd right there.
Hey, man, I see brown hair, gray hair.
There you go. I see red, white, blue.
Yeah, I see red, white, blue. What are you talking about, Chris? There's a lot of diversity in that photo.
Oh, there's black in the knee brace.
Yeah.
All right. So the Republican Party of Texas was supposed to be having a convention in Houston. And so basically the mayor comes out and the mayor is like, let me get the right link here.
I would double check that photo though and make sure that was actually from. Yeah, I mean, you know how they take photos from all sorts of places.
Oh yeah, there's no telling. And while we're here, since you're on, anybody that's on video, if you want to know how to fact check a video, images.google.com, you can go to that and you can basically paste an image in, like a URL to an image, and then hit search by image, and it'll show you where those images come from.
No.
And so it'll pull it up and kind of give you more detail about where that may have actually originated. So
John's such an internet ninja, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's the one that I use is I use the 10i reverse image search, which is basically the same thing. It probably uses the same interfacing, but and if not, John, I'll tell you what, I'll send you a link from PC Mag that you can post, which is basically how to do a reverse search from your phone.
Yeah, we should probably do a little self-help video on that so people can understand, because I think a lot of people get caught up on that, and I know I have, like a picture comes out and it's like, oh my God, and it's like, wait, that was from 4 years ago, not the same thing. So
the other thing is, it's not difficult to tell if a picture has been photoshopped. You have to want to look hard enough. Yeah,
you got to kind of have the eye for it.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
So the funny thing about this convention was that the GOP, the leaders decided, well, we're not going to show up, but we want you guys to go pack out George R. Brown. And so it was like, hey, you guys go pack it out, but we're not going to be there. We're going to be there on video, but we want you guys to pack out the convention. And so Mayor Turner, Houston mayor, was basically like, no, it's canceled. And so he said that they could go outside, as you were saying, Chris, earlier. We'll put the link in the show notes, but they can go have it outside, but they can't have it in the George R. Brown Convention Center. And so anyway, it's interesting to see. This is one of those things about, local politics. It's just understanding that these politics that are happening at the local level are the things that are going to impact you the greatest. If you have somebody that's going to basically just roll with party, then that's what you're going to get locally. They're just going to roll with party. And I don't even know what Sylvester Turner is, Democrat or Republican, but
yeah, he's a Democrat.
Okay. But yeah, so that it was just funny to see, but it just goes to show, even if you go back to like Obamacare with Congress, and Congress like, no, we're not giving up our health care. we're gonna stick to what we got, but all of you peasants, you guys utilize this new system. And so the government's going to look out for themselves. Parties are going to look out for themselves. So don't ride with the party, roll basically with common sense in that point.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, fellas. Look, we're coming up on an hour here. We can go ahead and close out here. Any closing thoughts?
Go ahead, Mike. Get it. I'll piggyback off of you.
Buy Bitcoin.
There you go.
That's all I got. Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Buy that. Buy it while you can.
To that point, though, we were
something positive today.
We were going to have Michelle Renee on tonight, but we're actually going to reschedule her for a later episode, and we'll be digging into Bitcoin quite a bit. CG, what you got?
Oh man, I was just gonna say, you know, I know that we've talked about the COVID-19 stuff endlessly, but um, you know, my own personal story with this thing, you know, when the quarantine first happened, I was one of the laissez-faire individuals that was still having to be out and about every day for work. The only time that I would abide by the social distancing guidelines and the mask guidelines was when I had to go inside a plant or something like that. And then other than that, I mainly disregarded them, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic. As this thing has kind of progressed on, you know, stories have changed with, you know, how deadly it is, how you can contract it, you know, things like that. Well, I mean, contact it, things like that. Well, um, the last kind of 2 to 3 weeks, this thing has become so real to me. Right now, my family wise, Julie's middle sister and her boyfriend have it. Her boyfriend's mother has it. Julie's oldest sister, my brother-in-law, my niece, his son and daughter-in-law, potentially 2 additional of their friends, maybe 3 additional individuals who were there that haven't started to show symptoms yet. My cousin and his wife, who they're all, you know, decently young individuals. There's 8 cases that I found out about at one of the plants, 2 additional suspected that they're waiting on right now. So this thing is it's gotten extremely real. And the more and more we've talked about it, my habits have changed. You know, I think all of our habits have kind of changed, you know, from one necessity or the other. But we just have to continue to do everything that we can, man, to try to do our best with, you know, the hand that we've been dealt, and continue to do what we need to do to subside this virus, and if not, get it the hell out of here, be able to manage this thing. Because right now I can't. I saw something the other day, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, what have we had, 300,000 new cases this week in the country or something like that? It's something outrageous.
Yeah, we're over 3 million total.
Just it's not a joke. Our rights aren't being suppressed. You know, yes, it's an inconvenience to wear a mask sometimes. Yes, it's hot. If I can wear a mask inside of a motor housing where it's about 200 plus degrees, you can wear it to go to the damn grocery store and get some eggs. So I promise you, you're right. Your rights aren't being suppressed. You'll be fine. Go home, be safe. The Garza family got tested yesterday just because we want to donate plasma. We are all negative. So I'm extremely proud of that.
That's good news, man. That's good news. And yeah, from the COVID tracker point of view, we're at 3 million cases global, or US 132,000 deaths to this point. So, you know, you can criticize the handling of either side or the CDC. We didn't get to the point of Trump and the schools, and him being mad that the schools aren't possibly opening up fully and all that sort of stuff. There's a bunch of, you know, issues that you can point to on that front. But, you know, take the information seriously. It's critically important. I believe Texas hit 10,000 cases total in a day. I believe yesterday, I think we overtook Florida. So things are definitely on the rise. You know, it's not slowing down right now. So, you know, protect yourself, protect your family, and in doing so, you protect others. So from the for the last point I'll make is something to take a look at. Mike hit me to this video earlier, and I want people to just look into Curtis Carroll. They call him Wall Street, Curtis Carroll. And it's a guy who's serving life sentence for first degree murder and robbery, armed robbery, and is completely just educated himself on financial literacy, and it's completely fascinating. Like the interview, I'll have it in the show notes. But the interview is amazing, just to see his transformation, and it completely takes all of the excuses out of why you can't get into, a better financial position in terms of literacy, because he did it in jail with paper and without the aid of Google at his beck and call. So don't have any excuses. Take a look at your situation, figure out what you need to do to be able to get over the top of whatever that is. And let's not forget community. Let's be there for one another in every way that we can, when we can.
Absolutely.
We are the Political Free Agents. You can catch us Wednesday, 7 p.m., Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Time, by the way, for all of those that are across the country and the world that are listening. You can also catch us on social media, at PFA Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you go to politicalfreeagents.com, you can click on the YouTube button and check us out there. Hit the like and subscribe so you'll be notified. We thank all of our audio listeners and also all of our YouTube watchers. Oh, and by the way, we're also now available.
Yeah, make the announcement,
Deezer.
man. Make the announcement.
Yeah, man. So we're available now on Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser. So if you know anyone who uses those platforms, you can find us there. Of course, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. We're all over the place. So there's no excuse on why you can't catch us. We'll catch you on Sunday. We're the Political Free Agents, and we are out. Good stuff, gents. Not going to have the post show. I think everybody's hungry on this Wednesday, so going to go ahead and stop the YouTube live feed as well.
Sorry.
Absolutely, man. That was good.